Uh, I guess it varies depending on situation or how the day's going, how I'm feeling. Um, I don't like going out places that I'm not like planning for, or you know, I wouldn't just go to the city, say one day, just randomly, just because I wanted to. Whereas some people do. Some people just like leave the house and have no plan. Yeah, absolutely. Like, uh, talking to friends. It in this sort of one-on-one session. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's a bit easier if I don't know. It's not necessarily the topic of whatever conversation's going on, but it just sort of like goes that way. It's easier to talk about it. Like, yeah, opening up and talking about whatever issues I'm having and whatnot. I'm not good at interview scenarios. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. So when I went to therapy like 2015, that's it's pretty much a lot of what was going on stemmed from family life, and like even in high school, most of it came from what was happening at home and everything. And while I don't think it's healthy to blame my parents for who I am and who I've become, it's like I can't. I also don't want to just blame myself and everything because that's not healthy either. And I know trying to blame anyone, but sometimes sometimes it can be. I don't know. It can feel better to have a reason because I mean, growing up, my dad was I don't know. I guess he was like a lot of dads, and he had the mindset of like just man up and essentially get over it, which everyone knows now is not a great way of raising a kid. Yeah, like a lot of personal trauma, I guess, has come from him specifically. My mother's a bit like she has like had missteps essentially over the years, but it's more forgivable, I guess, because for one thing, it's not as bad, and for another thing, I think that my dad has also had effect on her. Like I know where my dad's coming from a point, because he also had a pretty shitty childhood. Like his parents weren't very good, um, but it's hard to forgive like what he's put me through just because he went through something similar. Well, like she can be like coarse at times and not so understanding. But whenever I was feeling down when I was a kid, I'd either she would be the only one to notice, or I just wouldn't want to talk to my dad about it. Um, and so I guess she was like more understanding. I felt anyway. Even as a really young kid, I'd want to be around my mother more than my father. Just in everything, really, just the basic stuff. Yeah. Kind of like my dad wasn't always bad, yeah. Like 24/7 essentially, but yeah, there's been times when he has been the main thing for it. Yeah, as I said, I don't want to blame them, but I mean, I don't want to blame myself really either, because that's not healthy. Um, I don't know. Like, so I've always kind of wanted to confront my dad about everything he's put me and also just like Nick and my mother through. Um, but he's not the most approachable, and like I know that shit can get to him. Like sometimes has trouble at work, so I don't just want to like dump all of it onto him and then just have it be overwhelming. but at the same time, I also don't want to just like say nothing, which is pretty much what I have done. I mean, I've stood up to him like once or twice in the past, but that hasn't gone well. And yeah, like, I don't know, I read a thing ages ago that like children basically have no control over their upbringing. So pretty much how they turn out is the result of their environment. And for me, basically all my environment was my parents. Definitely confidence issues, because I don't like confronting people, just, you know, anyone else. And that, I guess that stems from parental issues, because I never felt like I could talk to them about anything. So I don't talk to really anyone about anything. But you know, like, yeah, it's hard, because pinpointing stuff that either could or could not be like from my parents is difficult. But I think that at least I've tried to distance myself from the way that my dad acts and everything, and how he is. So I've tried to raise myself in a way that, like, in spite of what my familial life was like, to try and be better, I guess. And I think I've succeeded at that for the most part. Like, I'm not my dad, so I think I've managed to get past that, at least. Yeah, I've kind of wondered about that. Like, if my dad had been perfect, would I have been better for it? I mean, I guess you can be a really good parent and teach your kid, you know, right from wrong and how to be nice to people. But I also don't know if, you know, if every kid could learn that way, because I think some kids learn like what not to do better than what to do. So yeah, I don't know. Well, half of me, you know, learned how not to be like my father, but the other half of me, you know, I'm still have like confidence issues. I still have anxiety. So, and I guess either that's learned or it's, you know, hereditary from my parents. Because I know that my dad has depression, at least to some extent. I'm not sure about my mother, but I think she possibly has mental health issues as well. And I know that Nick, for a while, he went through similar stuff as me, probably still is. I know that he struggles with, like, he's trying to essentially build a life for himself outside of our household. But I think he gets caught up on, I don't want to say ambition, but like, I guess he has all these ideas and he can't essentially pick one and just like follow that. So yeah, I think that back to the question. Yeah, I possibly both, because being a child is both nature and nurture. So I guess it could come from both sides. Sorry. There's actually like a very prominent memory that I have. I don't know, I can't remember when. It was probably at least 5 or more years ago. And my dad, my mother, and I were at the shops, and we were just like getting donuts after we'd been shopping or whatever. And the person behind the counter, she didn't mess up the order, but she had to like ask a couple times like what it was, so that I guess they wouldn't get it wrong or whatever. I think maybe they were new or they just weren't in it that day. My dad just kind of went off at her, and he tried to like get me on side, and, you know, like, if that was you, you know, you wouldn't make that mistake, would I? And I'm like, she made a mistake, like, whatever. And I don't think he was happy that I didn't jump to his side on that. But like, fuck that. That's the dumbest shit I've ever seen him fucking go off at. And then he just basically turned on me, and for the next like 3 days we didn't really speak, even though, you know, he had to get me up for school and everything, and we'd see each other in the morning and at night. So pretty much from that, I'm just like, well, you know, I'm not gonna confront him about anything, because, you know, that's the sort of reaction that I get, and, you know, it's not worth it. Yeah, like I know that you know, at a family level, you know, we all still love each other, but I don't know, he definitely didn't understand the effect that it had on me, because when I brought it up to him a couple of years later, he just basically denied that it ever happened, and I'm like, no, this happened, and, you know, this was your fault. And I don't know, I don't think he really wanted to accept it, that like he did this, but like I didn't want to press him any further, because, you know, at that point I was already like, I didn't want to talk to him, and hearing him say this just made it even worse, and I just wanted him to leave. But like, moving on, there have been times when he annoys me. Like he's not good with service workers of any kind. He basically just wants it all to be him, and, you know, fill my order or whatever. Fucking, you know, you made me wait. How dare you? It's like, it's the worst thing in the world. But no, and it annoys me when I hear him talk about essentially abusing people like that so casually. It annoys me, but I try to get over it, just because, like, I don't want to have a completely hostile home environment. And even if I move out, I would like to move out just to essentially get away from my parents. But at the same time, I don't want to just like drop a bombshell and leave. Yeah, like, I still love them, and I know that they love me, but it can be hard sometimes. I mean, from my experience, I don't like to cut off anyone. Like, people have been shitty to me in the past, and I've had like suggestion to just be like, you know, just screw them, just like cut them off and whatever, and don't talk to them. And on one hand, you know, maybe that could be therapeutic, but also, like, I can forgive a lot of shit, and I know that it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, I don't want to look like the bad guy, and I know that some people would take it the wrong way if I was to be like, you know, you suck, don't talk to me. And I don't want to like make them feel bad, even if, you know, on a level they might deserve it. And I don't know, I retain friends by forgiving people, so it's like I can move past it given time. But in terms of family, I mean, toxic people are toxic people, and for a lot of people that like cling to family, even if they're shitty, I mean, it's basically what I've done up to this point. But I mean, I do want to move out, I do want to get away from them, but I don't think that I could cut them off just completely. I think that, you know, I don't think I could ever become jaded to a point where I would never want to talk to them again. I think with time, you know, I can move past pretty much anything. So, well, I think that empathy is essentially the greatest human virtue, because I mean, it's just to be able to move forward as humans, we need to, you know, not hate each other. And I don't know whether it's learned or, you know, I was born like this. But I feel I'm pretty empathic, so even if I don't express it, you know, verbally, I do care about what my friends are going through, and I'll try to help them where or how I can, even if it doesn't take the form of counseling. But yeah, I try to look at what people are going through. I don't want to cause undue stress onto them. Everyone gets lonely sometimes, you know. I concern myself with how I would be as a partner, and I worry that because like I know that people care about me and people care about what I go through and whatever, but in my mind I have to consider, you know, getting my life in order before I could share it like that with someone else. Like there's a saying that you have to be able to love yourself before someone else can, and I just don't want to bring someone into my life in such a way that it would negatively affect them. If I couldn't be what they needed as well, I would feel bad. One of the things that's always at the forefront of my decision making is, what will people think of me if I do this? I don't like the thought of someone would think of me negatively. There have been people in the past, you know, the news has got to me that they don't really like me for one reason or another, and I don't know, I felt kind of shitty about that, even if they themselves aren't the greatest person ever. I mean, I still don't like that feeling that someone would dislike me. And I know it's a bit unreasonable to, you know, you can't please everyone. I found that I'm very self-aware of, you know, all my problems. I just don't know how to get past them. Like, I get lost in my own head quite often. I call it the soup. Nothing will, like, go silent. Nothing, I can't switch off in that regard. And yeah, it's just basically either, you know, just circling negative thoughts and whatever. Sound like the Joker. All I have are negative thoughts. Do it. Do it. I really hope that episode 9 turns out to be good, just because Palpatine's probably going to be in it. 7 was like pretty good. I like Kylo Ren in that he's not like, he can be kind of goofy. At least in 7 he was kind of goofy and it was kind of funny, but he was also like a pretty threatening villain, at least. Like he was sort of off the rails, a bit like Darth Vader, but it was definitely Disney-ified. But what they did with Admiral Hux, he just became a joke in number 8. Like fucking at the beginning when Poe and Hux are just like talking and Poe's just like essentially goofing on him and he just plays into it. It's like, oh, I don't feel like he's bad guy. He's just like a dumbass. There's like, I lost all respect for this character. He's just a goofball, which is all right for a character, but he's like one of the main villains. No, I don't care about him. I didn't like 8. It was Disney-ified to the point where it was just dumb. And I say Disney-ified by like it doesn't need to be fucking like super edgy or anything, but I don't know, you can definitely see Disney's influence where they've tried to make it more child friendly, and it's like, that's not the worst thing, but also it's Star Wars. It has a
Kill the younglings. You know what I mean?
yeah, like Anakin would never massacre people in the new Disney. Like the memes now are too tame for it. There's never going to be such things as that anymore. I really like Elon Musk. Like he's a likable dude, but he's also really awkward. And like he was on a podcast that I watched once. Maybe you've seen it. It was like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like on that he like some people were saying that, you know, he's like, you know, this guy runs a company, he can barely talk, but he's just awkward. He's a smart dude that put all his points into intelligence and none in charisma. But like he's really cool, and I think that he genuinely has the best interests of, I guess, like humanity as a whole, because like he wants to get us to space and to other planets and everything, and I would love to go to space, even though I hate flying. I just hope that, you know, he isn't discredited by people who don't understand him and who he is to such a point where people don't believe him in it anymore. Like there's a lot of people who share my opinion and like they love him despite his flaws. Yeah, so like I guess Elon's a cool dude. I like him. I definitely couldn't learn the technology side of it because he's like super engineer, but I don't know what exactly he has in terms of mental health disorders. Probably anxiety, maybe depression, could be both. So I guess in that sense, you know, we're the same, and he's made something of his life insofar as, you know, he's spaceman. I don't think I could get a breakthrough from him and his personality and whatever, even if I was to look at him and just be like, oh yeah, we're the same in these aspects. It doesn't necessarily help, just because I'm not him and I'm not like master engineer, and I know that I guess I have intelligence in other ways, and I understand that, but the things that are mostly holding me back are, you know, how I can interact with people in the world, and I would love to be like super extrovert, you know, being able to just shoot the shit off the cuff of fucking anybody in the street, just like go like in the city, just, you know, talk to any random stranger for 5 minutes about some dumb shit. But I personally don't think that I could ever do that. And like I get that there's personality types and everything, and it's kind of how you're born, and you don't really change like that much to the other side. You can get better at talking to people and whatever, but I know that I'm never going to be super extrovert and everything, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, I would like to push myself, you know, in that direction a little more. It's just, yeah, it's getting over myself. I mean, yeah, there's like, specifically, I don't know, because it sort of just like comes and goes, I guess. I don't know if I want to do anything that would put myself in the spotlight necessarily. Like I enjoy singing, but like alone to myself in the car. Just because on the one hand, I don't know that I'm that great, but like it doesn't matter if I'm not around other people. But also there are, you know, some people that are just like, if they listen to a song, they may be too polite to say it, but like I just want to listen to the song. Like I don't need another voice in it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I enjoy it. I have I have a way that I like that I kind of have to sing, and that I don't if I like miss a word in a song, I have to sing it. Like I can't just move past it. And then I just like throw myself off and I'm like, oh damn it, fuck that up. Good thing no one's around to hear it. I don't know. So like I have been told by one person that I'm a pretty good singer. And like he's he's a friend, and I know that, you know, I know that's not a lie. I know that he's not just like telling me that to make me feel good, but I also like I don't have full faith in my ability to sing. And like there have been times when I'm just like if I'm singing my favorite song, I'm just like, oh man, I did that all right, yeah. Like that was fun. And then there's other times when, especially when I've just woken up and I haven't talked at all, and I haven't like warmed up my voice, I'll just be like I'm just like, oh god, this is shit. I mean, in terms of singing, so there's the obvious that I'm like I'd be really anxious to sing in front of people, but also like I have a breathing problem that people who know me know of, and like there's just been times when I just like cough in the middle of a song or in the middle of a bit, like erroneous numbers of times, just because it needs to keep my breathing rhythm, and I'm just like, I can't do this in front of people, because I'll just be like halfway through like a verse and just be like just like, fuck. I don't know, I think I'd have to have a lot of faith in myself to do it, even like semi-professionally, or just any sort of, you know, like it's fun in my car, at least with songs that I know. Like if I don't know the song, I should be like, yeah, the song's alright. I like songs that I can sing. Like I love Take On Me, but there's something wrong with the singer of that to hit those notes. They're like, they're fucking good, but oh my god, oh, it's so good, such a good song. I don't know about like making music. I mean, on the one hand, I have no idea how to write music or even just like put it together with software or whatever. I don't know. I don't have a great sense of rhythm, and at least in like making music in that sense, because like I don't know, to put something out there, to put like something that you've made out in essentially the public eye, even small as though it may be in these cases, because, you know, I don't know how prolific Renton or Russell's has gotten. I know that Russell has a radio show, maybe he plugs it on there. But like even on small scale among friends, I don't know if I would be anxious to present something that I have made for public critique, because I don't know if I would ever be like satisfied with what I'd made. See, I don't know, like, because one-on-one teaching, I've struggled with learning things in that it's because like, okay, so in high school I didn't get like amazing grades, whatever. It's like, you know, now I don't care, but like then it was like, oh god, why am I like this? And I wouldn't ask for help just because I didn't want to like bring attention to the fact that I might not be very good at this and whatever. And whenever it came time for like one-on-one critique, of like when the teacher would mark your shit, you know, with you there or go over it with you, I was like, no, fuck, I have to all this like one-on-one shit. And I like, my mother suggested tutoring when I was in high school, but I don't like the one-on-one setting. I'm much better in group setting. And even if it was like group singing, there'd be times when it's just like, you know, the spotlight's on you, and then I'd probably freak out. And like I don't like deflecting all all the questioning onto, like, you know, mental health, whatever, and because like I know it's something that people can get over, and I know that's something that hopefully eventually I will get over, but it's hard to see through it right now, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, so like I feel like I've narrowed down my behavior and my decision-making process to what I said before, and that I don't want anyone to think negatively of me in like whatever form that may come. So, you know, if you know, someone was to say, you know, you should take singing lessons and whatever, I'd be like, you know, what if I turned out to be absolute shit and they're just like, you're not a very good singer. And I know that they would never say that. Okay, it depends on who you get, but they would almost certainly never say that. But it's, in my mind, it's, you know, a lot of it's non-verbal, and even if something isn't said, it'll be said in my head, and then I'll be like, oh fuck, that probably went down poorly. I catastrophize a lot, which is just a symptom of how I am. I always seem to focus on the negative. So yeah, it makes it's hard for me to view a situation and then put aside the negative to enact it, essentially. I mean, I came here today, which is like, I was anxious about doing this, but I'm here and I'm glad that I am. Like, I don't regret sitting here. It is a little hot. But that's neither here nor there. That's just Australia. Well, my parents will tell you this. They'll vouch for it. I once said I wanted to be a train driver, just because, I don't know. I thought that was cool. Like the dudes in the freight trains, are they just like cruising along the railways? But now it's like not so much, just because, I don't know. I kind of, that was just like the childhood fantasy. I know that, you know, I could become a train driver, but no, I've moved beyond that. It was possibly my dad, because he likes trains, even now. So he would buy a few model trains. I don't think we ever had like an actual train set, but yeah, as a kid we would have the do you know, you ever heard of click trains, like the wooden block trains? Yeah, we had those, Nick and I, and I love playing with those just because I could build a set, and then for some reason I would always seem to make like two curves come together at the wrong way, and I'm like, how have I done this? And it's just been like what have I done? How have I got to this point? But they were fun. What else? I've always loved to destroy things. Like, my parents would nickname me Destructo Boy, just because, man, I like seeing things fall down. A lot of kids do, but I don't know. I just love to see things explode into pieces. Like, okay, so Red Faction Guerrilla, excellent game, just because of shit fucking falls apart in that, and it's fantastic. I don't know. I'm sure there's some branch of psychology that humans like to see things explode or like fall apart, because I don't know, maybe we just like to, I don't know, there's just some sort of catharsis to either watching something or causing something to fall down. I guess I like to see things shatter. Like, I like pieces. So, I don't know, draw from that what you will, I guess. 10 years. 22, I was 12. That was before high school. So in primary school, like later stages of primary school, I did begin to dislike my home life. Like, I don't know, because my parents would argue, and they wouldn't do it quietly. So I didn't like the hostility in the house. And you know, to an extent, Nick has like been there. He understands more, because we're kind of the same in that regard. We had the same parents and we had the same upbringing. And you know, when we were younger, we would like fight and argue, but that like teetered off. You know, there'd still be times in like early high school where, you know, I'd get annoyed at him for whatever, but like Nick and I have grown from that. We don't have the closest relationship with each other, but I'm pretty sure we both understand that, you know, we've been through the same stuff, and like Nick and I love each other. We don't necessarily show it as someone who had a closer, you know, sibling bond would, but like I think the understanding is still there, and I think we've grown up in a similar way as each other. Yeah, if I had to go back and do high school now, I think I might do better, like either socially or grades wise. I mean, obviously I know more now than I did then, but like I don't really want to do it again. Like if I had a choice, you know, if I knew what I do now to go back and relive high school, I don't think I would, just because high school was kind of shitty, and I made friends there, kind of despite my awkwardness. I've always kind of had this, at least from mid primary school. You know, I was kind of adopted by an extrovert, and I met everyone else from that. But like a lot of high school I didn't like, just because in high school, you know, you're encouraged to go do all this extracurricular stuff and sport. I don't really like sport, and I wasn't really motivated to do all the extracurricular stuff. So I kind of just went just because I had to, and I was just, you know, waiting for it to be over. They were good times. It's hard to say, just because what I regret was being the way I am, but like it's not a great regret, because I couldn't change that necessarily. I guess don't wait, because I've always had an issue with just like waiting and then things pass. Whether or not I'd heed that, I don't know if I'd listen to my own advice, because I don't know that I do now, because like there's a lot of stuff about high school that what's the words, like I don't know, even now I have an issue with just like procrastinating. I think it's mainly because I have motivational issues. Like it's hard to see a reason to do something, or I'm always held back by, you know, what could go wrong. But like I'm slowly starting to realize that it's more likely than not that it won't go wrong necessarily, or the worst case is not really going to happen. Like even coming here, I was, you know, thinking about just like stuttering through it all and whatever. But I mean, I still talking's still difficult, but it's not as bad as it could have been. I was working under Telstra, for those who would ridicule me. I was not working for Telstra, I was working subcontracting to Telstra, and doing like fiber optic cable stuff, telecommunications work essentially. And this year, Telstra just sort of took a nosedive, and they laid off a bunch of people, laid off a bunch of contractors, and I was essentially one of them. Like, okay, I enjoyed that job a lot more than I thought I would in the beginning, just because, when I started that job, I started as complete noob. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I had no idea what any of the stuff meant really, but my bosses were very nice people because they made their startup, and so they were looking to take people on. And initially, Nick and I went for the same job, and they originally were just going to hire one of us, but they loved us both so much that they took us both on. Nick eventually stopped doing that, but I continued, and then I went full time, and then I got qualified with Training Place. And for 2018, which is the year that I worked completely that year, it was looking good. There were times where I'd be like, oh fuck, I don't want to go to work today, but it wasn't because I didn't want to be there. It was just because I either felt drained or I was just tired and whatever, because you have to deal with customers, and nobody really likes dealing with customers. But I at least knew what I was doing, and I could sometimes play the card of I know more than them, so you could kind of just like say some stuff and then be like, oh yeah. But to put it shortly, I loved that job, and it was taken away by forces outside of mine or really anyone else's control, and that bummed me out. But I was more who I wanted to be in that job than I am normally, I guess. There's like I still wasn't striking up conversations wherever I could help it, but I was managing just because I kind of knew what I was talking about, which makes it easier. It's easier to talk about things that you know. So it was a nice confidence boost to like have something that I could be proud of. But yeah, it was it was kind of shit that it was taken away, but it is what it is. And my parents do ride my back about finding a job, but I don't know, my motivation to do things is kind of, I only do it when I'm kind of forced to. Like that, and that job I didn't necessarily seek out. It kind of just fell onto me because, someone my parents knew the people that were there, so it was just like, oh well, it's just by happenstance we found this. And I mean, it's, as a byproduct, it's a little bit shitty to have joined that industry just as the whole thing took a downturn. Like I got one good year out of it, and then it petered off until it stopped. So like trying to use that skill set now, like no one's really hiring, and there will almost certainly come a time when that industry is going good again, but I don't know how long that's going to be. Even though I know that I need to go out and get a job, but at the same time it's difficult because you have to go in and meet possible employers, and if they want to do an interview, then there's the whole process of the interview and everything. But I put my CV in a place that does fiber optic work, and they never got back to me. I mean, I was kind of expecting it, just because I don't think the industry is really suitable. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to justify taking on someone else now. So that's like whatever. But I was kind of hoping that it would work, if at least just to get my parents off my back. I took pride in my work when I was doing the fiber optic stuff. And I was proud of myself that, because like I never saw myself as being able to do something like that, like any sort of trade ship or anything, just because, you know, you can almost say I'm allergic to outdoors, just because I get burned really easily, and, you know, outside is not inside. It's hot outside and it's cold outside, any of the in between. But I don't know, I managed to do it. I managed to learn, and, you know, it turned out really well. So I was proud of myself that I could do that, and I took pride in the work that I did. I've kind of been in limbo between now and then, just because, I don't know, I don't have anything to like revolve my life around, or to like focus anything on. It's kind of just been, you know, wake up and find something to fill the day, but not in any sort of meaningful way. Like I lament the state the world is in a grander scale, just because you see so much shit going on, and I don't like that I'm powerless to do much about it. Like, pretty much all of it is out of my control, and I don't know, I get a lot of existential dread, I suppose, just thinking about the world. Like, I know it makes me sound like some sort of messiah or a prophet, but like I want to see humanity succeed, essentially. I don't want us to be our own downfall in the way that, you know, we might be pushing ourselves now. And I can only hope that the state that the world is in currently is just like it's coming to an end, I hope. Like, you see all the shit that going on in American politics, how they're like almost finally cracking down on all the shitty people that have been in power for so long. I hope that it's just like it gives enough space to then just like wipe it clean and, you know, build something better. But I don't know if the human condition can change in such a way that we could be different, because like a lot of what is the problem nowadays is just like human greed and just wanting more. And like, I get part of what's being human is wanting more than what you have, no matter how far that goes. But I can, like, I would like to think that can be left behind and we can make something better of ourselves.